What's the best revenge you've gotten after being fired or let go from a job? I was about 15, working in the concession stand of a local recreation center. It was my first job. My boss, Julie, was extremely tough to please and had a high staff turnover rate. I knew this when I applied for the job, but I needed the money as I was going on a trip with a local travel club in March, and I wanted to spend money. She was made aware of this when she hired me in September. It was February 14th when I reminded Julie that I was taking my trip with a travel club during spring break. This was more than a month notice that I would need that week off. Not that she had any protocol in place for requesting time off anyways, as she was so disorganized. I showed up for my shift on February 17th. It was a Friday night, and there were 2 hockey tournaments as well as a curling tournament. The long weekend it was really hectic, and there were only 3 of us working. Me, Julie, and a cantankerous older lady who used to be my neighbor. It was so busy that I didn't get a chance to have anything to eat for supper. At 10 p.m. there was a law, so I decided to throw a chicken burger into the deep fryer so it would cook. While I was mopping the floor, Julie came running up to me and yelled that I was not to eat anything until I had finished mopping. I tried to explain to her that I was hungry as I hadn't eaten since lunch at school, and that I was cooking it while I mopped the floors trying to be efficient. She continued to yell that I was being disrespectful and lazy, and that I was not to eat any of her food until I had earned it. I was spitting mad, but I clenched that mop handle and went back to work without saying anything further. I was already planning to ask my parents with help for a resignation letter. I was wondering how I was going to survive 2 more weeks of this hell after I gave my 2 weeks notice. I hadn't checked on my chicken burger, but then Julie put a paper plate in front of me with a chicken burger on it, smiling sweetly. I said nothing, but when her back was turned, I threw the burger in the garbage. I decided that I wasn't going to eat any of her food. Probably a good thing, as I wouldn't put it past this immature 40-something woman to spit on my food. I continued my chore list in close-up duties, which meant that I did not get out of there until 12 a.m. This made me groan in frustration as I was scheduled to work at 7 a.m. the next morning. As I was walking out the door, Julie handed me an envelope. I said nothing and waited out in the snow for my dad to arrive to pick me up. I opened the envelope and found a letter of dismissal where she stated that I was being let go for taking too much time off, not being able to count back change, and for talking back to authority. It also stated that my last day was to be February 20th, the holiday Monday and the last day of the tournament. My coworkers were both out of town for the weekend, and I was the only one available to work the busy weekend tournament. I laughed when my dad picked me up. He read the letter and tested my math skills, proving I could count change. He and my mom were furious that Julie had left me outside in the snow, denied me food, and fired me unfairly. They said I didn't have to go back. The next morning, Julie called, demanding I come to work. My dad refused, saying, "You fired her. She's not coming back." He also reminded her that under labor laws, minors must have 8 hours between shifts and meal breaks. Julie had to work the busy weekend alone because my coworkers refused to come back. A month later, my dad, who was on the recreation board, shared my story and others' complaints about Julie. The board fired her and made my former neighbor the temporary manager. Meanwhile, I enjoyed my trip to Europe with enough spending money to have a great time. When I returned, I got a job at the local convenience store, where my new boss praised my change counting skills. I worked there until I moved away to go to post-secondary school, and even now, 15 years on, I still talk about how awesome my second boss was.